good people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all. And we're live.
Yeah. What's good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all.
We are Bizak.
Yeah. And before we kind of kick things off, we will be out for a few weeks, just doing things and being busy. It's voting season, so I'll be doing a lot of political action out there in the wild.
I have a baby shower coming up. I'm a girl dad uploading.
Congratulations.
And some other events that I have to be present at during our recording days. So when we come back, it'll be a long time. We shouldn't have left you without a dope pod to step to, but we gonna step to it.
Right. And so we're going to try to keep some content uploaded in the meantime. It might not be edited and cut in the way that, you're used to and those types of things. And so we're just kind of going to divide this episode probably in 3 pieces. If we don't, that's because I made a different decision in the editing process. But today we're going to talk about Tommie Richman and his comments on Twitter, 50 Cent's most recent interview with Earn Your Leisure, and then Lupe Fiasco's interview with Angela Yee on the Way Up show. And so, we want to talk about all 3 of those things, give our takes, and then hear your take within the comment section. Be sure to join our Patreon for $5, where you can get the full episode and contribute $5 a month to this podcast so that we can continue to do the things that we do. We can continue to upload in 4K and buy a graphics card that can handle that processing. All of that contribution helps us keep making improvements. And eventually when we want to get into our own studio. So, keep supporting. And we can go from there. So first, I want to start off with the Tommie Richman says he's not a hip hop artist. And so this is coming from Stereo Gum. And it was here you go. It was reported by multiple sources, both Billboard and Complex and some other places. But Stereo Gum has synthesized this. And so on October 2nd at about 4 p.m., Tommie decided to get online and say pretty point blank, I'm not a hip hop artist. And if you don't know who Tommie Richman is, he is.
Wait. Before you get to this explanation, guys,
they got to know.
This was a Bobby Caldwell moment for me. Go ahead and go.
Well, you can't do that without explaining Bobby Caldwell for those who.
Okay. So Bobby Caldwell, just for a real short thing, when Bobby Caldwell came out, his album cover was a black silhouette, right? And it was this really nice song, I know you wonder where I've been. And for a lot of us, I did not know that this man was a white man.
Uh-huh.
And this is the same thing.
Is it?
I did not know until you just showed me.
Has Bobby Caldwell come out and said, I'm not a R&B artist or something like that?
No, but they knew who they were trying to get as his audience. And I think the same thing is happening here.
Interesting.
I 100% do. Because there's no way that you say, I am not a hip hop artist without knowing what the people around you were trying to do.
I think it's different. I think it's different unless that artist comes out and says blatantly, I don't want to have to do anything with these Negroes. Anyway, so Tommie Richman, he went viral on TikTok with $1 Million Baby. He also has a song called Devil Is a Lie. And both videos, both music videos are stereotypically hip hop videos. They have fancy cars in there. They have women in the bar and in the lounge. He has his hat turned backwards. He's, you know what I mean? It's just kind of the stereotype of what, the NFL Super Bowl crowd would see as a hip hop artist. And so
Yes.
if you were to tell the lay person, hey, is this person a hip hop artist? They would probably say yes, based off of what they heard in the music video.
Yeah.
Not only that, the syncopation or the instrumentation in the beat has a lot of Memphis influence. It has a lot of Texas influence. And so it sounds like hip hop music when you play it. And so, yeah, so I want to, do you have any additional thoughts on this or takes before I kind of read the response on Twitter?
It's a very interesting thing as an artist. And I get further down the line what he was trying to say. But I think as an ancillary thing, it is our ancillary, but as a prerequisite, you have to understand that our culture of hip hop is way broader than people try to make it. Mm-hmm. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, i.e. given his comments.
Yeah, I think that for Tommie, he came online and he said, I meant to say I'm not solely a hip hop artist. And he continued, I say again, I'm thankful for everything. I'm saying I don't want to be boxed in. I grew up on hip hop, but I'm a singer. And that is the same, at least similar take to Post Malone. Mm-hmm. When full well, they know what audience is gravitating towards their song. And they know what culture the songs are pivoted towards.
Yes.
And so I don't think there's you can play the ignorance card here. And that's what I think is happening. DJ Head chimed in and said, I understand that there's understood. However, there are nuances that can be perceived when statements are made. I don't believe you have malicious intent, but I do believe there's much to be learned about the system that you've entered within this thing we do. I hope it works out for you, not sarcasm. And that was in response to Richman saying that, I'm thankful. I'm saying I don't want to be boxed in. I grew up on hip hop.
Yeah.
I grew up on hip hop. I'm a singer.
But that was also in response to, I think DJ Head had posted, well, if that's the case, if you are not hip hop, then hip hop stations need to stop playing $1 Million Baby and Devil Is a Lie. And now we have 2 slots open to play something else. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not hip hop, then we shouldn't be playing you over here.
Yeah.
And this often happens in a lot of different cases. I think Pink is often used as an example of a bad Bobby Caldwell experience, whereas like you start with the very R&B songs, and then once you kind of get your pop records, you just was gone. But that's a normal trajectory of how they use hip hop culture to
black culture in general
to catapult themselves to pop stardom and then never do any of the songs that we supported and put the money behind. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think that happened with Pink, or even Christina Aguilera had a bit of that. We love voices. We are very into people having good runs and having good control of their voices and everything else. Like people that could have actually sang on We Are the World and not just been yelling. So there's a connection point to us there, but it's often, just a fallacy of like using our revenue to go and do what you really want to do, which is, what we call culture vultures.
Yeah, and so hip hop consumers are spending with you. Hip hop consumers are providing you with revenue, and the market has responded positively to your records. And then here comes like, I'm not this culture.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate in his response. So I want to keep on moving. Recently, according to Yahoo News, 50 Cent sat down with Earn Your Leisure podcast and said, in order for me to make music right now, I have to tap into my stupid side. So I don't want to belabor the point or go too deep into what else he said because the articles are out there. Like, what do you think about that?
I think it's an artist who has moved to the next part of their life, their next creative venture. Artists at their core are just creatives. And I don't think we give that enough leeway sometimes because of our attachment to whatever creation they initially start with. I.e., if you're a musical artist and you do a lot of albums, I'm attached to the albums. That's how you were introduced to me. In most interviews, you probably don't talk about the other creative ventures and things that you want to go and do. And sometimes you'll go off and you'll act, i.e. Ludacris, LL Cool J, Ice-T, Ice Cube, the whole gambit of artists that have done that. But we always kind of expect you to pop back up into the music scene. Whereas that's just a tunnel vision, single-minded kind of way of being a fan.
Yeah, 50 Cent is feeling, at 49 years old, that he wants to impact things in a bigger way, according to this article. And he also said, this is why I haven't created as much content as I was creating in the past. And I started going towards the film production and development of these projects because I can impact things in a bigger way through that. And he's right. And the other reason why he's right is because in today's age, 2024, as musical artists, you should be diversified in what you do. You should be creating media in multiple different ways in order to kind of extend your brand. This is why, we do this podcast now, because our brands can be expanded because we can hear. And that doesn't have to detract or take away from our music. We can be just as strong in our musical ability or just as strong as putting out new records as we do other content. But, that's the reason why the 360 deal existed when we first started doing music. Yeah. And we'll get to that more later when we talk about Lupe Fiasco and his interview. But the whole concept of a 360 deal is to earn from every diverse part of the artist repertoire and earn from every creative piece of that artist. And ultimately, I feel like 50 Cent recognizes that. He's a business person, and he said, let me diversify. Let me get out of this one thing.
And it's a bigger stage. You can reach more people as a whole. Hip hop, no matter how much reach it has a reach up to a certain point. Movies have a much broader reach. TV shows have a much broader reach because you're able to bring in different people's fan bases in a lot of different ways. So you bring in an actor from something that like went viral, on TV. You bring in the youngest new actor that everybody thinks is cute or whatever the case may be. And then you create a story that allows them to like really excel. So it brings in the fans over here, the fans over there. And now they're a fan of this project. It's a better multiplier of your talents and abilities.
I think so, too. And the reason why I think so is because when being in a diverse world, some people worry about, hey, if I'm going to do this, will they just know me as this guy?
Yep.
Versus the music guy. And the reality is, those things can overlap. Those things do overlap at times, and your work is to make sure that they know that you're both.
Yep. Which, matter of fact, funny enough, brings back the Tyler Creator point again about full artistry and all the parts that you put into it, because you're not just a vocalist, you are an artist. And I don't know how many people even know the difference between those terms. I'm not going to presume anything, because it's just, it's a different era and a different time. And how many times would you actually use that word?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very interesting, but it's also something that we kind of have expected from 50 ever since the vitamin water deal.
Yeah. Here's a part that I disagree with. They brought up in the article that he did a 2022 appearance on 97.7 The Box, and he said in that interview, part of hip hop is youth culture. I don't think you're supposed to have the hottest verse at 50 years old in hip hop. He explained. I think the 16-year-old kid, the 15-year-old kid, that guy that should be thinking and doing what is keeping the culture thriving, so it grows into new energy with new vibes, with new music. I don't fully agree with that, and I don't fully agree with that because I believe hip hop shouldn't be limited to young people for new ideas.
Yeah,
I think new ideas can come from folks that are older and innovative thoughts.
Yeah, and that leads more into D1's issue. Like, if we keep going that way, then we never grow, because then those younger kids don't have OGs that actually did what they were doing at 16, are doing it now and have evolved, because you won't have anybody to talk to. Like, if I'm 50 and I still have the best verse, which I know I could, then you should come and like get some information off of me.
Right.
Because there's something that I'm doing, there's something that I understand that you clearly don't. And it's not like I'm trying to box you out. It's just I'm honing my craft and have continued to do so from the time I was your age to now.
Yeah, and crafts and skills should get better with age and time. And that's why, we don't see a lot of 15, 16-year-old masters at things. You know what I mean? When you think about other cultures and other disciplines, the masters aren't normally, that young. They could be, right, if they started at, year one. But that's typically not likely. And those 10,000 hours matter. And I believe that the people that get the 10,000 hours should be still able to influence the culture.
Yeah. I.e., one of the GOATs.
Right. So our last point, Lupe Fiasco did an interview with Angela Yee on the way up, and he talked about his entire story. He unpacked it from start to now, and that was very enlightening to me. It was very incredible to hear more of his story be unpacked in this way, in a very freeing and transparent way that I've never heard before, because he was in the midst of label drama. So it feels like he is free now. What does it feel like to you?
It feels like freedom, but it also feels like good journalism. Shout out to Angela Yee for wanting to take the walk from there. And understanding new fans who may not know who Lupe is, and introducing him and his catalog in a certain way through this interview. And that was very well calculated and appreciated as a fan of his, or excuse me, let me correct myself, as a stan of his, because he the GOAT for me. So it was refreshing.
Yeah. He talks about and this is what we're getting at as far as like longevity in the game and the 10,000 hours. He talks about being in the game for 24 years, and many people don't know that he was in a group called the Pack. And so what I want to do is play a little bit of the interview. If we can't keep it in the video, that's fine. We'll take it down. But I want to share what a part of this. If you can't hear it in the full video, please go listen to the audio podcast where that clip will stay in.
We called the Pack.
Oh, that's right.
We had a song called Armpits.
And then I think
it was fire though for the time.
Armpits.
Armpits. That was my first deal.
With label issues, is that why you guys broke up, or was it issues with each other?
It was like one of those. It was a time where it was like, yo, he can rap, he can rap, he can rap. Y'all just met each other tonight. Okay, cool, perfect. Y'all a group now, right? We're gonna take this group, package it up with some other joints.
I was about to say, we know what that feels like.
Yes. And also
at 14 years old,
it's been done a lot.
Yeah.
NSYNC was done that way. I'm sure Backstreet Boys was done that way. Like in our era, like when we were younger, there was a show called Star Search.
Gosh.
These things were done. You know what I'm saying?
Dating yourself.
I got to. Because it is so
you can't
common,
date yourself, you're married.
Yo.
Anyway.
I was going to ask you a question, but that was such a prime dad joke.
We got to keep going, by the way.
Anyway, it's very articulate to how they used to create groups. Or not articulate, it's very specific to how they used to create groups. And it's interesting because it's like you would always assume that these people knew each other, grew up with each other. That is always the thought that I have when I hear people together.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you realize why they all break up.
Yep. They were never cool.
And then now we gonna get y'all a deal, at Epic Records. That's kind of how it was. It was a deal with a label called Raw Dope in Chicago, which had Crucial Conflict and some other acts, and so we were kind of like the last of that era. And it was a strange deal. It was super strange. You doing like it's supposed to be like a showcase freestyle battle thing, and they're like, oh, yo, he nice. Y'all all in the group. And it was another dude who wasn't even there. Now we put him in the group where y'all went to the crib, so now it's 4 of y'all in this.
I hate the word
sounds
showcase.
very familiar.
Yep. I hate the word showcase. I mean, that's everybody, because again, that was what you had to do.
Right.
You had to go to a showcase. You had to perform at that showcase. Not only at that showcase, you had to bring in your own fans.
Yep.
Which, if you didn't understand that, which at the time we did not,
you were destined to lose.
You are going to lose because it's from crowd participation, and guess who's in the crowd? The people that they brought.
Right. And so we didn't realize the economics of bringing people to a space. Yeah. Which was the primary goal. And so this was a money making thing, so to speak, in order for folks to sell a show. So we're gonna play a little bit of the Pack, Armpits, and I'm gonna play Lupe's verse from that song.
Drop nothing, unarmed, lights on them pistols, stop frontin' while y'all chase birds like Roadrunner for phone numbers. I be in the back with bone crushers and known hustlers. Big bill niggas, big deal niggas. One call you killed, all ill niggas. Want beef, better be extra sure. My niggas be under your floors, so stay on your toes like pedicures. My 16s make other rappers quit dreams. Try to sing and list in the Marines. Zero tolerance, I leave hero tolerant. You better have Shapiro and cock ready, you can ring it up like Johnston's. Feel me? Course not, still be on top. On the rock, build me for your spot, for real, B. Honor that. 18, longer gag, corner cat, stronger raps. When Lou on, who gonna be stopping that?
Niggas, bitches, pimps, tricks, whoever you with. Let me see them.
The irony of this group name, the topic that they're singing, that they're rapping about, all of that is wild. I don't want to go down memory lane, but it is wild. What else did you kind of take from this interview with Lupe that was surprising to you?
He did drill music and Zion in a week.
Yeah.
Just in a week. And I think that's insane. Because that album was pretty high on my list at the time. And I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 out of 5 during one of our reviews. I forgot about his connection with Anonymous, the hacking group.
Not his connection. He said they did.
Or their connection to him.
Yeah.
I should say, in terms of
their
them being
advocacy for him.
they're fans of his music.
Yeah.
That was interesting. And then I think just him talking about his deal structures was the most interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of the deal structures, I got more insight on how I feel about record deals and how he feels about record deals, which helps me understand that, number one, he's been independent the whole time.
Yeah.
Right. And that's pretty obvious if you keep track and if you know the business and you understand how it works. You know, most of his deal was distribution and some additional funds for production, which he said was, probably max $300,000, which is not a crazy big budget in that time.
Yeah.
Today, that would be an enormous budget, but at that time, that wasn't that big of a deal because CDs still existed. What's most surprising to me is I feel more secure about being an independent artist based off of what he said about his deal structure, and I feel more secure about being an independent artist based off of like the story of them getting Kick Push off the ground.
Yeah. And
that's the same way that Breakfast and Biggie had his connection. It was playing in the Bay Area. It was playing in North Carolina. Shout out to them and prayers out to folks in North Carolina right now. And a few other markets were New York City. A few other markets were breaking my song as it first started to come up. And so I feel that. And what's different about our stories is that I didn't have a CEO calling to slow the record down.
Yeah. Which is
wild.
But also informs me more about what you artists have to do on the front end, right? Mm-hmm. Especially as hip hop artists, we do a lot in the sample era or like in that arena, I should say. So being aware of where your samples come from, no matter if it's a site that has samples that you buy and they're already cleared or whatever the case may be, I would try to be as informed as possible on every aspect of that, because
unpack that a little more because they don't know.
Oh, so
in
context, he was saying that when Kick Push, they made the song, they got the sample from an old Filipino song, or Soundtrack did, and he was Filipino, so he knew about the song. No one knew about the song, and therefore they were able to get the song out. It was playing in different places. I forget the Chicago. Chain.
So it's playing in the Chicago market and got picked up by Detroit and Milwaukee and some other places surrounding.
And so when he goes to sign with the label, it already had some wheels to it, but then they started to call around to try and slow the process of the single. And the reason that they did that was because they were out searching for the artist that the sample came from, so that they could buy that sample and then be able to get even more money from the single as a label. Not give the money back to Lupe, but to have the money as a label.
Yeah. And so that's the thing, is that it was very eye-opening to have that confirmation about how the business works, right? Yeah. It's crooked in that way, where they want the sample that you use in your big commercial record to be masters that they own, so that number one, they can clear it, but also number one, they can monetize it as a label and not necessarily have to pay the other folks that are on the publishing end. And that's, that's not 100% true every time.
Yeah.
But it is pretty predatory from Lupe's point of view.
But it also marvels how well he is at constructing albums, because when you have the singles of they give you this chorus, they give you all this other stuff, and to still make the cool. We don't talk too much about Food and Liquor too. We do talk about Lasers.
Yes.
And we do talk about Tetsuo and Youth. Mm-hmm. That was the most surprising to me, because not only did he get y'all gave him these hits that he was supposed to have. He made the songs. He sends them back to you. You don't like the songs that you sent,
right?
And then therefore we end up getting Tetsuo Youth, and I think a more Lupe crafted way, because it felt way more Lupe than a lot of the other albums have felt.
The other piece I appreciate is that he knows how to play the game.
Yes. And
I want other artists to appreciate that. I want other artists to know how to play the game and understand that, in order to break out, you might have to make a commercial record, and you might have to learn how to do that. Yeah. And that's a big deal, and that's a skill. But if you do it yourself, you're more likely to be proud of that commercial hit than dissatisfied about it, because you don't have anybody saying, here's this hook, here's this big star. Yeah, like Lupe said in this interview, here, go chase Lady Gaga for 9 months and then make this happen. You don't have anybody doing that to you, so don't be ashamed of making some hits. And
also, don't be ashamed of asking them, okay, what are the songs that I have to have?
Right.
And then building what you need to build from that. Mm-hmm. Because then you're not sacrificing the structure of your album. Like, because I hate albums where, like, the first 3 tracks are these singles that the label made you put together. Because it always, well, not always, but it can a lot of times sound really disjointed. And that's just a structure of, they gave you them 3 songs at the last minute. These are the 3 songs that they want to promote about your album. And then we're wondering about the connectivity. Why does it sound this way? This don't sound like it really fits. Or they do the thing where they just throw all these bonus tracks at the end, and it doesn't really,
I love that trick,
elevate the artist. It's noticeable.
Here's Marseille, I think.
Hey. But I think with independent artists, there's a different thing. Because for independent artists, most times I feel like it's a timing thing. Like, if I made this early and it's like,
I didn't know that Marseille was going to work. Like, I just didn't know. And so that's why I added. So let's give it to the comments, right? So what do you think? What do y'all feel about that?
Have you watched the interview? Did you learn something about Lupe that you did not know before? Let us know down in the comments. Let us know, did you listen to the Armpits song? Because we are definitely putting that down in the comments so you can listen to it and kind of see what a young Lupe was like. What do you think about the Tommie Richman situation, the 50 Cent situation, and just what you kind of feel about music as a whole? Because these are the hip hop conversations that are going on. We appreciate you guys. We will be back at the start of November in full. So already pre-happy birthday to me. And we'll see you guys then. A 1 and a 2 and a hey. Peace. I heard your word up. Hey, peace.
Throwing me off.